Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis, and today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP as we are marching forward on into this week, as we did see the weekly candle close yesterday. I streamed yesterday for an hour because Ripple, or I should say XRP, was starting its major breaking point. We couldn't yet get to the point where I was totally happy with it, which would be around the $1.30 to $1.35 point. We're going to be talking about why those levels are very key for XRP to actually break, for it to go much higher. But I do expect this week to actually be fairly bullish for XRP, as we do have a lot of updates to actually kind of talk about. The main one is the Ripple Swell Global event. We're going to be discussing that, and we're going to be talking about that. But we do see Bitcoin breaking above $66,000 today. It needs to break above 67,000, or its all-time high, for us to really get excited. But I am still expecting that still to be broken by around the middle to the end of the month. We'll most likely break it before the end of the month, 100% in my opinion. But we have to watch closely. In terms of XRP, we have been in the top 10 movers on the 24-hour span. In fact, if we're looking here she is at, pretty much, I forgot, let's see, 3, 6, 9 pretty much on the board. So interesting to say the least. And of course, when we're talking about the 7-day span, a lot of these assets on the 7-day span have been doing incredibly well. We're talking about 100 plus gains at some point in time, and then double-digit figures. So, a lot of altcoins are starting to, feel the impact of Bitcoin kind of pumping up to these high levels. Of course, Bitcoin dominance is rising with it, but also Ethereum dominance has been rising with its major moves this week as well, up 9%, outperforming Bitcoin actually on the 7-day span. So that's pretty interesting to say the least, and I'm very, very excited for the next major moves ahead. Now, with this, we are also seeing quarters pretty much ramping up in terms of volume. In fact, we are seeing 600,000 traded in the past minute, as we do see on the left here. And of course, we do see a lot of those buys going to the US and of course overseas as well. So a lot of buy pressure right now in terms of XRP. I didn't really see the trade volume. I didn't really kind of look at it today, but it is actually up 106%. So that's significant. And we do see that we topped out on some major resistance up here. We didn't quite get to $1.30. I know that they're pretty much rounding it up, but we didn't quite get there, sadly. Now, we are seeing the news pretty much, get into it as well, talking about Ripple pretty much gaining 9.52%. Top places to buy it, of course. They're telling you where to buy it and all that kind of stuff. And we'll see a lot more media being pushed around XRP as we do continue our moves up. And we're seeing, essentially, XRP's betting on the SEC pretty much case being cleared or not, but that's not the case. I don't think that we need the SEC case to be over for us to actually move significantly. We've already seen some major moves this year alone, going all the way back to April, and we're going to be talking about that as well in this video. But I also want to talk about the 2017-2018 pattern, which of course a lot of people are also realizing. We just hear it's 2017 all over again. XRP is behaving in the same manner. $7 to $13 seems very reasonable. And I do completely agree. In fact, I've always said $10 to $15 is fairly conservative in my mind. Overall, I know a lot of people are calling for like $28, $50, and it's crazy, but when we're talking about those prices, a lot of those range on Bitcoin going to like 200k plus or something like that. So when we're talking about what's to actually come, for XRP, I do expect all-time highs very soon. With that being broken, of course, we go into price discovery, and from there, we pretty much just wait until our targets are met, and of course, we do take our profit and sell. So I'm waiting for that day to happen, and I do think it's around the corner. It's happening very fast. Now, I do want to talk to you guys why this week is very big. Well, ultimately, I talked to you guys in the past 2 days about this Swell event. And just for anybody who did miss those videos, I'm going to reiterate this news a little bit. But this could be fairly big for us because we're talking about a big partnership announcement, something like that. Anders actually thinks that there's something else. Who knows what it could honestly be? We could be seeing, some major updates here. We could be seeing some major innovation. I've actually discussed, first off, there's going to be a lot of talks about CBDCs. We talk about how the global movement of value is rapidly changing with technology, and of course there's going to be a presentation on it, probably including XRP and RippleNet at some point in time. There is blockchain and crypto the future of cross-border payments. We've already kind of discussed this a little bit in the past, but we also see this is going to be talking about on-demand liquidity, of course. We're also going to be talking about cross-border payments in general throughout a lot of this, by the way. But we also see here DeFi is spearheading the tokenization of everything, why it matters matters for institutions. So there's going to be a lot of talks in terms of RippleNet. RippleNet's going to be essentially the main focus point here. And then we do see here the next era for crypto, a conversation with Sam Bankman-Fried, fireside chat. And of course, it doesn't say here, but we've actually seen it on an update that I showed yesterday. I think it actually might be on the next slide here. So we do see here, the Wild West or a new frontier, and we do see here crypto going mainstream, real world examples. I don't know if they're gonna. All right, so here we go. Yeah, so an overview of how fintech is being deployed to make financial products and services more accessible, affordable, and equitable worldwide. This is talking about, regulatory lens and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we do see CBDCs. They're talking about CBDCs here as well. Now, I don't think that, so it doesn't mention it here, but we've seen it yesterday and the day before. But the article that I read was actually telling us that they're going to be talking about new RippleNet products as well. That's probably going to pertain, like I said, to the on-demand liquidity basis and cross-border payments. But I'm telling you guys right now, I honestly expect a lot of news to come out of this event. In fact, if we look back on the past, we've always pumped off of news from this. So I'm expecting a little bit of some nice price movement. In terms of the price chart, I've always discussed the price chart. Right now, our main focus point is $1.30. But when we're looking at $1.30, so let me show you exactly why $1.30 is fairly important for us. So here is that $1.30 level. Now you might be wondering, well, there's not too much resistance here at all. I want to show you guys the 4-hour micro levels. So when we're looking at the micro levels here, and let me zoom in real quick for you guys. So going back a little bit, $1.30 was never really a big issue. In fact, it was around this point at at about $1.30.5. If we go back to around August 15th and the 16th as well, around this point was fairly strong for us to, hit major resistance and then pretty much reject off of it. And of course, $1.35 is also a fairly important basis, in which I'm going to show you guys exactly why as well. So first off, to really kind of address, we topped out on that level on August 15th, but it's more so going back to around April. So if we're looking at the current spectrum on pretty much $1.35 and $1.30 being the main focus point here, well, first off, we look back on the price chart, and this is a lot of support. So if we could actually flip $1.35 into support, that would be very key for us. Now, at $1.30, again, when I'm talking about this level, there's a lot of resistance here and a lot of support. In fact, the major resistance levels we actually tested initially before we broke to almost $2 back here in April. Here's those two retests of that point on the 4-hour span. And of course, when we're talking about these levels, this is about $1.31. But we have a lot of grounds to make up until we actually get to that pinpoint. Now, when we're talking about the long-term viewpoints in terms of where we end off the, bull run, so a lot of people have been saying that we're going to lengthen the cycle a little bit. We're actually going to push on through about Q1 and Q2 of 2022, which I think is reasonable. In fact, I actually welcome that. But I'm more so concerned about the past bull run and pretty much where we do start our figure run in terms of going to the all-time high plus, because back here it was initially fairly easy to wait for this major move to happen, because it was 207 days still, so you had to be very patient. But if we were looking at it on a wide scale viewpoint, currently here's November, right? So let's actually go to the beginning of November and let's actually address this real quick. So here is November 1st, and this is pretty much the month of November. There wasn't too crazy in terms in terms of moves for the all-time high to actually be tested. The major moves were actually back in May. That's where we actually hit the all-time high before we continued on to, pretty much consolidate. But we already had our all-time high in April, so we've actually been consolidating a lot longer than the price chart right now that we're looking back on in terms of 2017, 2018. So we could technically have a retest of the all-time high sooner than pretty much December here, but December is still going to be the popping point, or sometime in December, I should say. Not even the beginning, but sometime in this month later than, earlier. So we're still going to get that nice topping point, but I do expect it to happen later in January as well. Most likely around the middle to the end of January is probably when we will most likely top on XRP. If not in January, it'll pretty much be in sometime, February. But we're still expecting a lot of those topping points to be somewhere in Q1 and Q2 of 2022. Of course, we have to watch the chart play out perfectly, but I'm still expecting us to have this major move sometime in December. This will probably bring us to the all-time high plus. But if we can break $1.30 or $1.35 sooner than I do expect, which I still think that we retest those levels this week if we can continue the momentum. Of course, are we expecting a pullback on Bitcoin? I would say, we could have a slight pullback. It's nothing, a major correction or anything like that. In fact, we'll probably just retest support on XRP, but this will also be very good for altcoins to actually continue to get that major move on the price chart. So right now, I'm waiting for us to actually break those levels, break out of this key resistance, which when we go back to the Binance chart, we can actually see where that resistance is. So obviously $1.30 and $1.35 are very key, but I'm more so dead set on $1.40 being the main focus point right now currently, because this will allow us to retest $1.98 and essentially break over that to really retest the all-time high and go into price discovery. Now, I do think that we have a little bit more time to wait for this, so if you are trying to accumulate as much XRP as you possibly can currently, don't get too disgruntled or frustrated at all. I still think that we have some time until this level is actually broken. So just wait a little bit, be a little bit patient for anybody who's waiting for this or thinking about selling and getting into another altcoin, because XRP is more than ready to pop. In fact, when we're looking back on the fractal levels, November is usually a slow month, but it leads us into one of the fastest moving months, which is December. And when we're talking about December into January and February, we don't need the SEC stuff to actually clear, like this article is saying. We don't need that at all. In fact, all we have to do is follow exactly what we did in 2017, which so far it looks exactly like the same pattern pretty much playing out, except our topping point was actually in April instead of May, so sooner than expected. And again, when we're talking about the price movements, are we expecting a sooner than later pump in November? I wouldn't be surprised if we did do that, but again, we still have a lot of levels to break until we do see some major price movement on XRP. But I'm still celebrating the price movement on XRP still, and I think that when we're talking about what's about to happen, XRP is more than ready to really have that major breaking point. And I do think that this week could help us get over this $1.30 and $1.40 level, especially if we were talking about this swell meeting being fairly big for us in terms of very good news. And like I said, a lot of people are very anticipating this swell conference as well with me. So that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm pretty much waiting to see. So this is tomorrow and of course Wednesday. So pay attention to this, please. If you guys do want to get those live updates, hit me up on Twitter with a follow, as well as join the free Discord down in the description below. But with that being said, I hope that you all have a beautiful day or beautiful night wherever you guys are, and it's beautiful. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.